continue with microphone. We would like to continue with our next session, which is called "Man and Nature, Friend or Foe," and examines the role of animals on the concept of relational archaeology. And I would like to welcome Mr. Vasileios Karaiskos, a master student from the University of Leiden. His title is called, the title of his speech is called "The Impact of Nature on Late Bronze Age Pottery Painting, Herbal and Rhythm, Characteristics, Importance, Interpretation, or Origins and Relevance with Contemporary Data." Please welcome.
Good afternoon. It is my honor to be accepted in the conference, and I would like to thank the organizers. I really like the theme of the conference, and I was very enthusiastic to be a part of it. My topic concerns the impact of nature on late Bronze Age pottery painting, and I am to focus on the evolution on this pottery style throughout this period, as well as to give some thoughts on the interaction between the human and the nature. Of course, I don't have enough time to enlist all the naturalistic pottery paintings of 500 years, so I will present a sufficient number of pottery paintings from several parts of the Aegean region to give you a taste of the period's naturalism. Lastly, I should mention that the naturalistic motives are not the only one on late Bronze Age pottery painting, but they seem to prevail. I believe that late Bronze Age pottery is best considered in three stages: the Minoan dominance, the Mycenaean dominance, and the last century and a half. Due to the different periodization of mainland and Crete, I will use both datings, namely late Helladic, late Minoan, and their subphases. Therefore, the pots I am going to present will be included in these three phases without being enclosed in a very strict dating, since my focus is the evolution through the impact and not the dating. Before this, I would like to talk briefly about the impact of nature on the agent, the artist. After all, he is the one who transfers nature's pictures to the pots. The artist gets inspired by pictures he views inside a specific environmental context, and therefore a well-traveled artist has the opportunity to paint numerous themes. It is noteworthy that nature plays a crucial role to people's identity. For example, pots from the mainland appear to have herbal decoration, while those from the islands a sea-related one. However, this pattern changed dramatically throughout the late Bronze Age due to the radical changes of political situations. I will come to that later. People admired the beauty of nature since the Paleolithic period. This admiration led to the deification of nature's aspects and gave birth to the human need of seeking beauty. Late Bronze Age pot painters were well aware of that and did what the market was asking. They produced fine wares ornamented with naturalistic themes. The naturalistic art arose in Crete and progressively dominated the Aegean world, including mainland Greece. Then a more formal style seems to develop within mainland Greece, seemingly to owe something to Middle Helladic traditions. Late Minoan pottery paintings seem also to follow the Middle Minoan style at their very beginning. Minoan potters also created more modest vessels. Ceramic art, so splendidly demonstrated in the style known as Kamares ware, which appeared during the Old Palace period, and is out of the topic, continued throughout the Second Palace period. In fact, archaeologists have established the chronology of Minoan art based on the ceramics found in the excavations. There was a strong sense of formal design in Minoan naturalism. On the other side, the vivid creations of the Minoan wizard flourished long even on the mainland. These two styles seem to coexist in the Aegean art, which is essentially a unity. For instance, a great quantity of fine pottery was produced during the late Minoan or late Helladic I and II periods, the early Mycenaean period, around the middle centuries of the second millennium BC with marine flora and abstract designs, among which Mycenaean and mainland work can perhaps be distinguished by technique but not by style. Mycenaean and Mycenaean painter pottery was a well-explored field for artistic expression. Naturalistic motifs predominate and may seem fresh to the point of modern, especially when they derive from marine fauna, which is such as octopuses. Let's move to the first phase. In late Mycenaean 1, the range of both wall and vase painting is enlarged by an interest in the underwater world. Fish, polyps, Nautilus shells, rocks and seaweed. The distinction between the two crafts is kept as before. The balance between formal pot decoration and natural observation is beautifully achieved on some vessels adorned with a single polyp reaching around the surface or a pattern of Nautilus shells, their streamers out, alternating with seaweedy rocks. The feeling for natural implicit in this pottery decoration finds much more direct expression in the wall paintings. The vivid naturalism of such paintings has long been set against the schematic depiction of similar motifs in Mycenaean painting. The contrast commonly having been used by archaeologists and art historians of the earlier part of the century as emblematic of quality distinctions between not only the painters but also the Mycenaeans and the mainlanders. The construction of new palaces at the beginning of late Bronze Age stimulated dramatic developments in many artistic media, but especially in pottery, given its widespread use at all levels of Mycenaean society. The late Mycenaean 1 potters gave their ceramics a whole new appearance. By late Mycenaean 1A, the new styles were diffused throughout Crete, and by late Mycenaean 1B, Mycenaean ceramic products were so uniform that sometimes only clay analysis can distinguish the products of widely separated areas. Except for the palatial tradition, a small but highly influential palatial production, many of the late Mycenaean I1B styles were so widely spread that they constituted a common ceramic tradition. A large jar from Psyra, you can see it, illustrates the late Mycenaean 1A decoration at its most elaborate. The motifs in its largest frieze are unusual for the period. Bull heads in front view alternate with double axes with leafy branches placed vertically between them. Bulls were important sacrificial animals in Mycenaean religion, and the axe, probably used to slaughter them, had become a religious symbol. The late Mycenaean 1B vases of the special palatial tradition excelled even the finest late Mycenaean I1 works in the inventiveness of their shapes and the vividness of their marine and flora decoration. Then listed octopuses, the marine style, the most attractive aspect of the palatial tradition, and listed octopuses, starfish, coral shells, and other such details in a lively evocation of underwater life. The best known example is a flask by the so-called marine style master, which was found at Palekastro in eastern Crete, though its style and fabric suggest that it was almost certainly exported from Knossos. Each side bears an octopus in front view with fierce eyes and writhing tentacles. Small sea creatures and plants act as feeling motifs. A feeling of suspended motion, especially appropriate for a subject floating beneath the Aegean, is projected by the diagonal curved lines and sinuous tentacles and seaweed. A floral style formed part of the special palatial tradition. Flowers, especially imaginary hybrids based on papyrus plants, palms, or lilies, were painted exuberantly. Some of the most striking ceramics were done in the marine style because of the depiction of sea life painted on their surfaces. In a stoppered bottle of this style, known as the octopus flask, dated around the 15th century BC, the painter celebrates Crete's sea power. Then, at its heyday, like microscopic life teeming in a drop of pond water, sea creatures float around an octopus tangled tentacles. The painter captured the grace and energy of natural forms while presenting them as stylized design in harmony with the vessel's spherical shape. In this style, the tendency to zoning is dropped, and a new repertoire of sea creatures is introduced. Nearly every form of marine life is represented. The octopuses, dolphins, fish, and starfish swim around the vase against the background of coral, seaweeds, sponges, and weeds. This style, which leads itself particularly well to an overall arrangement over the whole vase, was one of the most successful in Minoan art, and is worthy to rank with the Kamari style, which is in its spontaneity and inventiveness. They resemble, yeah. The marine style seemed to have died in Crete, at least after the eruption of Thera and the mass destructions that followed. A fine example of the pattern style of the first half of the 15th century BC is a stirrup jar from Zakros. You can see it. Oh, no, I don't have it here. This is an early version of pottery shape, which was to become exceedingly popular in the 14th century BC and after. But without much of its former energy. Octopuses were more attenuated and often more symmetrical. Florals were stylized as if the artists were copying designs rather than nature. The most exciting development of late Minoan II was the palace style. Regarding the Mycenaean pottery in its early stages, it can be best described as the provincial Minoan, but the Mycenaean fabric seems to be even better than the Minoan, while certainly mainland shapes, such as the Ephorian goblet, influenced the Minoan repertoire. The Ephorian goblet, the finest product of the Mycenaean pottercraft. This term derives from Corinth's ancient name, Ephir, where it was found. Its decoration is confined to the center of each side and the area under the handles. A single pattern comprising a flower forms the main design on each side. The motifs are Minoan in origin, but the treatment is Mycenaean. Gnossian imitation of this style are abundant, but inferior in design and execution. The reliance on Minoan vessels are so great and were so different from the Middle Helladic ones. Thus, we could say safely that the arrival of Minoan potters in the mainland Greek centers happened there at this time. Shortly after the 15th century, the palace style evolved on the Greek mainland. In the middle of the 15th century, or slightly later, it was taken to Knossos when the Mycenaean people occupied the ruined palace. It has not been found anywhere else in Crete yet. In this style, previously motifs are stiffened into a monumental pose, clumps of stylized lilies, octopus, and architectural motifs. The shapes are now limited to the most common large jar derived from an early Minoan shape. The next stage, the so-called palace style, which was really a mainland development, and it was in any event confined to Knossos, is also met in the Mycenaean pottery. As known, Mycenaean Greece and Minoan Crete had been in contact for many centuries, but before late Minoan II, most of the ideas in pottery making had been transferred from the island to the mainland. The change in direction of influence might have been sudden and fundamental. Besides the Mycenaean shapes, the Minoans adopted several mainland ornamental motifs. Let's move to the next phase. The pottery style of this period is remarkably homogeneous over a wide area. There were two principal styles of the decoration, the pattern style and the pictorial. The Minoan pottery of this stage, which was somewhat non-conformist, may be regarded as forming a third style. Pattern styles are simplified versions of those current in the 15th century BC. Scales, spirals, chevrons, octopuses, shells, and flowers. Throughout this stage, motifs became more simplified till they were little more than calligraphic squiggles. To economize their efforts, the vase painter tended to cover most of the vase with horizontal bands, painted while the pot was revolving in the wheel, and used only a small zone, usually on the shoulder, for patterned decoration. Compared to the 16th and 15th centuries BC, the decoration, although always competent, shows distinct lack of invention. It seems that the vase painters lived on the capital laid up by Mycenaean craftsmen, which could sustain them for some time, but not forever. A very different style of... A very different style of drawing developed in the 14th century BC and achieved great popularity in the 13th, when a deep bowl succeeded the naked crater as their favorite shape. The subjects are bulls or other animals, birds, sphinxes, either moving in procession or facing each other heraldically. The animals are drawn in outline, and the bodies divided into sections which are filled with repeated patterns of dots, crosses, and circles. The pattern looks very much as if they were inspired by embroidery stitches, and it may well be that figure style was based not on frescoes but on textiles. In a few exceptional pieces, the scenes are in white on a black ground. Although the majority of the Minoan vessels of the 14th and 13th centuries BC were very like canonical Mycenaean wares, there was still an inventive spirit at work, which occasionally manifested itself in a more creative style. This style, at its best in pictures of birds, abounds in rich all-over patterns. The Mycenaean preference of zoning was probably never really sympathetic to the more exuberant and less disciplined Minoan spirit. In the 12th and early 11th centuries, the homogeneity of empire style was broken, and local decorative idioms emerged. The decorative styles are extremely hard to systemize, but seem to fall into about 4 main groups. The close style evolved in Argolid. It was clearly influenced by Minoan pottery of the 13th century. The entire vase or selected zone is completely filled with complicated closed-sheet patterns, which generally include rosettes and strange aquatic birds. The tapestry-like effect has a certain charm. A tanker recently discovered at Miletus, decorated with fish and aquatic birds, show a variation of this style. You can see it there. A variety of this style, the octopus style, grew out of a favorite Minoan way of decorating stirrup jars with a thick black octopus pattern. In this developed the form of style, which perhaps evolved in the Dodecanese. Small birds and fish are drawn between the tentacles of the octopus. Stirrup jars decorated in this way are found in Rhodes, Kos, the Cyclades, and Eastern Attica. You can see it here. Where many superb examples have been found in the cemetery of Perati. Other vases from Perati exhibit a hybrid style which combines elements of the octopus style and the closed style. The granary style also evolved in Argolid. Here the decoration is reduced to a minimum, and all over monochrome wash or dark bands and wavy lines. Moving forward, this impoverished style led to the sub-Mycenaean vessels, which in some areas were interposed between the authentic Mycenaean and the proto-geometric pottery of the Iron Age. No more naturalistic themes are depicted on the pots after the fall of Mycenaean dominance, which was followed by a period of instability commonly named as Dark Ages. But at this point, we have to pose some questions about this phenomenon. Why did the pottery painters of the sub-Mycenaean period stop picturizing the nature? How were they affected by the fall of the Mycenaean palaces? What happened in the workshops surrounding the Mycenaean palaces after the end of their dominance? These questions cannot be easily answered, but we hope that future research will shed light on this problematic transitional period. Towards the end, we could say that the impact of nature formed the general trends of pottery styling through the late Bronze Age. At the same time, it gave artists the opportunity to express their thoughts and probably feelings regarding the environment surrounding them, or to depict the common tendency. Added to that, naturalism on pottery decoration was also one of the numerous media of communication, exchange networks, and of course, interaction among the Aegean region. Thank you very much for your attention.
So, thank you very much. Time for questions. Well, if no one has a question, then I have one. I would like to ask firstly, you mentioned that in the sub-Mycenaean period,
Yes.
this naturalistic themes stop with where we see the fall of the palaces also. And I would like to ask you if you have thought that the depiction of the nature, in which way the depiction of the nature can be connected to an administrative center actually, and why actually with the fall of a palace, of an administrative center, or whatever this is, goes together with the stop of depicting naturalistic
Yeah.
themes.
Actually, this is one of my questions. I'm not sure myself to answer it. However, we can see that this is happening. We have the first fact, the fall of the Mycenaean palaces, and as a second fact, we have that the pottery paintings do not have naturalistic themes anymore. Probably, yes, there is a connection between those two facts. But yeah, I'm not sure of myself too.
Yeah, I mean, if nature could in any way be connected with power and with such an administrative palace, I was just wondering if we could see these depictions and a connection between them with these complexes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have, when you talk about depiction of nature, okay, vessels, do you have central distribution? Do you have important vessels in different regions you create from the centers or from the palaces, or in local production in different spaces? For example, does it take? It's only a lead objects. They are used as a lead objects in for the depiction of nature, or you have other patterns also.
Well, we know that the Minoans were affected by the Mycenaean pottery after their fall to the Mycenaeans. Sorry, I forgot.
One of the question is, all these bases
Yes.
that are naturalized are made in the area of the palaces and moved around Crete, or you have local examples. The Psira example, let's say, is it local or is it imported? And the perception of nature and is applied to the vessels from the palaces, or is it applied also in different settlements around Crete, showing something different, another perception, or taking let's say, a trend and use it for other purposes?
Yeah, in the first period, Minoan vessels were exported all over the Aegean. But in the second period, we see that probably the Minoans, were affected by the Mycenaean painting. So, the Psira, actually, it's affected by the...
Is it a local vessel or is it an imported vessel?
No, I think it's a local one.
It's a local.
Yes.
I can propose you something. In let's say in the Athens quarter in Mogros, we have these kind of jars that are lily jars. They have a mark, a leaf, a lily, and sometimes I think they are used as potter's marks also, like a settlement stuff their vessels. It's in certain type of jars with a certain motif for the transport recognized as a teacher, you know. And I mean that the naturalized kind of style is used for different purposes in general.
Yeah, that's what we see.
Yeah, it's incised, but it's naturalistic.
Yeah, that's what I believe too.
Other questions?
You have mentioned that in the case of the LM1B marine style, the artist celebrates the Mycenaean sea power. Well, my question is why did the artist celebrate it by depicting maritime landscapes and not the Mycenaean fleet? And I'm putting this question because actually we have no evidence in the imagery of this period for any intention of the Mycenaean elite to visualize their sea power. So have you read it somewhere, or is it your?
No, I've read it actually. I found it in one of my references.
What do you think about it? Do you think that it is plausible that the depiction of that marine style is an artistic expression or a demonstration of Mycenaean sea power? Because we could imagine also other possible explanations for the depiction of nature.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, the marine style is only a part of the palatial style. But your question was if it was connected with the
With another part, with Mycenaean Thalassocros.
yeah.
I think this is what you implied.
Yes, actually. That's what I think it is related.
Okay, but the problem is we have no depiction of Minoan vessels in the Neopalatial period.
We don't?
We
Yeah.
have a few,
Mm-hmm.
I mean from Crete.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, I also do believe that they had some sort of power in the South Aegean, but what we don't have is the visualization of this power in the imagery of this period.
Yeah. I think I found some pictures where they were dating in LM1B, and they were sea related. They were marine. They had depictions of marine style. So I'm not sure that we don't have any depictions. I think I have some.
And a second question, because I think that the pottery is a very interesting case study for human and non-human and their importance. And what we know from Minoan pottery is that humans play virtually no role throughout the history of Minoan pottery. What do you think? Perhaps it would help you to explain why nature, if you put a question, why only nature, only non-vessels and not humans?
I'm not quite sure right now about the Mycenaean of this period, but we have on the Mycenaean we have the pictorial style, which has humans, it has soldiers. So my topic here was actually the impact of nature. Yeah, I think we have some human figures in other vessels, but I didn't talk about them.
Yes.
Just like to jump into your first question. I think that you don't have always to depict what you want to mean. What I want to say, an anachronistic example. For example, the religious example. Byzantine periods, Jesus is depicted as a fish. You don't depict Jesus, you don't even depict a cross or something like this. It's only a fish. And my personal opinion is that if it's if this pottery is related with an elite, something like this, and we always see so many sea motifs, I don't think that they're not correlated. That's my opinion.
I have an answer for me. Okay, give it. No. First you didn't. No, good. Then mathematics, there is all, but there is also this opinion that the marine style was created after the tsunami of Athens, the volcanic destruction, and the fact that all these creatures, when tsunami comes, all these sea creatures from the whole sea came into the earth, made them, after this period, they start depicting this thing. I think it's also it's a good idea, it's a good expression.
Yes, Madam. I just want to say something about the afterlife you described in the Mycenaean pottery. I think if you look really attend to the parts of Palladic towns with the motifs of Minoan pottery, it's not only a simplification, but you see a completely different rhythm of decoration and the relation from the body of the pot and the decoration. It's completely different from that of the Minoan pottery. So for that, maybe it's really, we have to distinguish about adaptation and integration. And see, I mean integration in the sense, if you see the many influences in Minoan Crete from Egypt, from other regions, and they integrated impulses from outside in her own language. So they become something of her own.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see the Minoan motifs and the Mycenaean pots, they are still adaptation but not integration. And going on with the time, they are combined with all these linear shapes and these motifs were rectangular, who are not in this organic way. And you have a strange dysfunction about a struggle, different kinds of being, of sensual being. So for that, maybe it was not to integrate in some cultural identity, and maybe it was that it made disappear than this. I don't know, but it is completely, since at the beginning, also the Karaiskos who are simple and they are the rhythm of the decoration with the shape of the parts are completely different. And so for that,
yeah.
there's no integration, it's adaptation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, probably adaptation is a better term. Yes. I actually agree.
Yes. Going back to the previous discussion and the points of previous people. First of all, it's true. I don't think it is easy to put together Minoan and Mycenaean pottery. To me, it's like chalk and cheese. So there's a big difference. So, but let's go to stick to the Minoan pottery, the topic many of us seem to love. Now, if these are connected to some kind of naval power, and if naval power is not depicted itself, so it's only creatures from nature that are depicted. And if this depiction is related to some sort of event, it is a reaction to some events, then, to my mind, this is a strategic way of depicting something. There's a strategic in the sense of communication. They want to communicate something. They don't simply want to represent it. And at this point, naturalism gets out of the window. I can't see them as naturalistic depictions if they have some communication strategy behind them. And even if they are naturalistic, I don't think this becomes so important as to why or what purpose they were in there. And of course, we should not mix the representation of nature with the an effort to represent it as faithfully as we actually see it. Because once we focus even on this free field octopus, I mean, really, the bits and pieces of this image are not realistic. It's not a realistic rendering. It's a highly filtered artistic rendering of nature. So, my question would be similar to other people. How would you comment on what would, from what you've read, from what you think, what do you think would be the communicative purpose of these vessels?
The communicative the purpose of these vessels.
If they were painted like this for a purpose,
Yeah.
what would the purpose possibly be?
Well, probably their ability to paint like that, in a different pattern than we can see. Yeah, I don't think that. Yep. Okay, that's very right what you said. That many of the depictions are not exactly. They're naturalistic, but at the same time are not right of how, for instance, an octopus is. Why did they do that? I think that, let's say in the specific, it would be wrong for the decoration, in my opinion, to just picture an octopus. An octopus wouldn't even cover the whole pot. So I think that one of the purposes of these kind of depictions is to fill up the space of the jars.
Sorry, but we're running out of time. We have to move on. So thank you very much for your
You're
time.
welcome.